science prodigy. Today we will be continuing the previous part, that is the part till which we had done in atomic structure till Rutherford's atomic model. So today we will be continuing just after Rutherford's atomic model. So let's begin, and before I begin I would like to tell you that I will be completing the entire syllabus of class 8 and 9 for physics, chemistry and maths. Before your exams, I'll also try to cover them up with details along with important question answers and everything that is very much needed for your exam purpose. So if you have not subscribed my channel, make sure that you subscribe the channel for your own benefit. So without any more delay, let's begin. So just after the Rutherford's atomic model came Bohr's atomic model, which was proposed by Niels Bohr. Now, what was the drawback of Rutherford's atomic model? The basic drawback is not there in class 8, but at least a few part of it is there in class 11. So I will try to just give a little bit of idea about what is the drawback in Rutherford's atomic model, due to which Niels Bohr proposed the model. When it came to Rutherford's atomic model, the first ever drawback was the bombardment of the electron on the nucleus. Bombardment of the electron on the nucleus when the electron was constantly revolving around in its orbit. Why did it so happen? Because the electron, afterwards when you will study in higher classes, the electrons actually, while moving around the circular orbit, because the electron is a charged particle, and when it is moving in a circular particle, it is already having an accelerated motion. It was observed that the electron, while moving forward to the accelerated motion, was actually having a decrease in its radius. That is, it was then decreasing, again decreasing, again decreasing, and finally it bombarded over the nucleus. The moment there was a bombardment, it implied that the atom collapses. That is, the atom could not exist because the electron was a charged particle, and whenever a charged particle is in accelerated motion, it has to lose its energy. And due to that reason, the electron was constantly revolving and there was a reduction in its radius of the orbit. And so after revolving in more and more circular paths, it would be observed that it was colliding and bombarding over the nucleus. That means the atom has collapsed. So it was not a satisfactory model proposed by Rutherford. Then one more important thing was just a kind of information, no need to understand this as of now. The second most important drawback was, according to Rutherford, because the electron was constantly revolving in its orbit, it would have been observed that a band spectrum is formed. But in reality, Bohr proved that not a band spectrum but a line spectrum is obtained. So it is just for information, no need to remember this. So this was the information and the reason why Rutherford's atomic model was rejected. These were the drawbacks. So then Niels Bohr proposed his own atomic model. Now the specialty of this atomic model is, he actually tried to solve the problem. That is, the electron will be present in certain stationary orbits. Why stationary orbits? Because in these orbits, the electron will always be present in this orbit and this orbit only. There will be no reduction in the orbit size. Electron will be stationarily present in this orbit only. So these are the stationary orbits proposed by Bohr. So because the electron was present in the stationary orbit, so the first problem which was there in Rutherford's model got neglected. That is, electrons are there in stationary orbits, so no such bombardment of the nucleus. Then electron, more specifically, he also said that electron will be present in every electron is associated with a specific shell or the orbit. So every electron is associated with a specific shell, not with any shell. If this is the electron, this is associated with only shell. It cannot jump off to the next adjacent shells. It will be always in its own present shell. It won't jump off to any other particular shell or orbit unless and until it has been excited with some amount of energy. So it is associated with its shell, and each and every shell is associated with a certain amount of energy. And that is why, because it is associated, every shell or every orbit is associated with a certain energy, that is why they are also termed as energy levels. Because they are associated with a certain amount of energy. So it is an energy level. It has this energy, means this is its energy level. Now the different shells are accordingly named as K, L, M, N, O, P in this fashion. That is, starting from the innermost shell, they begin with the innermost shell. This is named as K shell. Then moving forward to the next shell, it is the L shell. So the energy associated with the energy levels is in the order of K less than L, less than M, less than N, and so on. M, N, O, P, and this way. So K is the innermost shell, then comes L shell, then comes M shell, and the energy associated with all of them follows this particular order. That is, the more they move out, the more amount of energy is associated with each of them. But Bohr's model was restricted to one electron species, or more specifically hydrogen-like species. That means the ions that are having only one single electron, or else it won't be applicable. One single electron is present in hydrogen. One single electron is present in Li2+, and in this way it carried on. And in this way, every one electron species were only having the proposed model, were only abiding with the proposed model of Bohr's atomic model. Why Li2+? Because we know that Li initially has 3 electrons. 2+ means 2 electrons gone. It is having 1 electron with it. So for only, more specifically, for only the 1 electron species only, Bohr's model was valid. So later on in the higher classes, you will see that Bohr's atomic model was also a rejected model. So now came the discovery of the neutrons. So then again the entire idea was changing, because the discovery of neutrons came up by Sir James Chadwick, and not just that, he even received a Nobel Prize for the discovery of electron. So what was the basic property of a neutron? The basic property of a neutron is that, as the name suggests, neutron, this means it is neutral. Electrically it is neutral. So neutrons, the first basic property is, it is electrically neutral. And the second most important property is that the mass of a neutron, when we talk about the mass of a neutron, it is slightly greater than the mass of a proton. Mass of a proton is 1.672 into 10 to the power minus 27 kg. That is 1.672. But when it comes to the mass of a neutron, the value is 1.675 into 10 to the power minus 27 kg. So this was the basic property. So neutron is electrically neutral, having mass slightly greater than the mass of a proton. Now moving forward to, then what should be the basic structure of an atom? First of all comes the nucleus and then comes the extranuclear region. That is, when we see the nucleus is comprising of protons as well as the neutrons. Okay? So the neutrons are also considered to be present inside the nucleus. Then and both of them together are termed as the nucleons. Then comes the extranuclear region, where what do we have? In the extranuclear region, around the orbits, moving in the orbits just outside the nucleus are our electrons. So the electrons are present in the orbit outside the nucleus, and inside the nucleus are the protons and the neutrons, which are collectively known as nucleons. Now, before I begin with the composition of a nucleus, I would like to tell you that not just protons and neutrons, but it was also later on discovered that there are more subatomic particles. That is, there are antineutrinos, neutrinos, and several different types of subatomic particles were later on discovered as well. So now, moving to the composition of a nucleus, and one more important thing, that we thought that the subatomic particles, protons and the neutrons, were the ultimate particles. But unfortunately, that was found that the minimum indivisible particle which are making up the subatomic particles are quarks. That is, a quark is that particular tiny particle which actually makes up all the subatomic particles like proton, neutrons, etc. So it is the quark which is the most tiny the most tiny particle that makes up the subatomic particles. Now, moving to the composition of the nucleus basically consists of the protons and the neutrons. Now, when we talk about the atomic number is denoted as Z. The atomic number is nothing but the total number of protons that are present. When I say atomic number, that is nothing but the total number of protons that are present in the nucleus of an atom. So, how to find out the value of the atomic number or Z? It is nothing but P. But what is the number of electrons? Number of electrons must be equal to the number of protons so that the atom is electrically neutral. For maintaining the electrical neutrality, the positive charge must be equal to the negative charge so that the equal positive and the equal negative charge cancel each other. That is why, because Z is equals to P, this implies that this equals to E. So the most important conclusion here is Z equal to P equal to E. Now after the atomic number Z, we have the mass number. When we are talking about the mass number, it is generally denoted as A. Mass number is nothing but the total number of protons and neutrons present in the nucleus of an atom. That means if we are asked to find the value of the mass number A, what is the mass number? It is nothing but the sum total of the number of protons and the number of neutrons present in the nucleus of an atom. So this is the sum total of both of them. So how to find out the value of A? It is nothing but P plus N. So then, can we understand what is the relation between A and Z? That is the atomic number and the mass number. It is very simple. N, if we go for Z, is equals to P. We know this. Putting the value of P here, we see that A is equals to Z plus N, which implies that N is nothing but A minus Z. So if we are asked to find the number of neutrons and it is given in the question that the number of protons is this, we know number of protons is nothing but the atomic number Z. So, and the mass number is also provided, we will directly use N is equal to A minus Z for finding the number of neutrons present in the nucleus of an atom. So, N is equals to A minus Z is a very important relation which not just helps us in finding the value of N, but it also establishes a relationship between the atomic number Z and the mass number A. So now one example I have written so that we can understand it in a much more better way. That is, in the example it is given that it is a question, not an example basically, you can consider it as a question and do it before I solve it. Okay, so the most important part that is given to us is the mass number A is 23 and the atomic number Z is 11. Can you figure out what is the name of the element? If you have studied that chart before, or if you have to study that chart of 1 to 20, the atoms of the elements from atomic number 1 to 20, you will find that this is nothing but the basic atomic number and mass number of sodium, that is Na. Okay. So now the question here is not this. The question is find the number of protons, the number of neutrons and the number of electrons. That is all the important subatomic particles, protons, neutrons and electrons. So before I start doing this question, you can pause the video, do it on your own and then follow along with me if you have done it correctly. So you can pause the video, I am repeating it again, and then do and follow it along with me. That will be much more beneficial. I am starting to solve the question. So let's start with finding the number of protons. It is very easy. We know that the number of protons is nothing but the atomic number Z. So it will be 11. Done. Answer. Now, what is the number of electrons? In an atom, for electrical neutrality, the number of electron is equal to the number of proton. So it is even more easy. Number of electron is equal to the number of proton. This is also 11, and just now we did how to find the number of neutrons just few minutes back. That is, number of neutrons is A minus Z. We have been provided both the value. We will be directly using the formula. A minus Z, which is 23 minus 11, that is 12. So we easily found out all three of them. So I hope you have understood this question. This is a very important question. Sometimes these sort of questions may also be asked in your examinations. Okay, these are very easy questions. Just P is equal to the number of electron, that is nothing but Z, and the value of N is A minus Z. So very easy. Okay. Now the most important thing is that the elements having the atomic number 1 to 20. Okay, the elements having the atomic number 1 to 20, you must memorize that by heart, because in your examination purpose, for your knowledge purpose as well, not just examination purpose, for your knowledge purpose as well, you need to know them. Okay, so for the elements having the atomic number 1 to 20, you must memorize them by your heart. Means you have to know it exactly. Whenever you ask what is the atomic number of this element, you have to say what is the mass number, you have to say it instantly. So that should be done very properly. But the most important observation, I am telling you a trick. Okay, it's a trick, or you can call it a tip as well, with the help of which it will be easier for you to memorize it. Now, let's start writing it. If I start writing it, I'll see it starts with hydrogen. Okay, so Z is Z and A. Okay. Starting with the first one, hydrogen. Atomic number 1. Mass number 1. Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon, and in this way it goes on. Sodium, aluminium, magnesium, silicon, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine. So I hope you can understand. I have totally marked it up when I was in your class. So hydrogen Z1, helium is 2. The moment we land up in an even number, the tip goes here. Listen very carefully. The moment we land up in an even number, the atomic number becomes twice of it. That is even into 2. In most of the cases, okay, not in every case, sometimes there may be variation, but the tip is in most of the cases it is even into 2. So it is very helpful for you in remembering it. So you have to actually remember the order very thoroughly. There should be no mistakes. Everybody remembers it, you should also remember it. So lithium 3. The moment it is an odd number, okay, just after hydrogen you can follow this rule. The moment it is an odd number, this becomes odd into 2 plus 1. Okay, this is the value of the atomic number. So this is the super trick, right? So lithium is 3, 3 into 2 plus 1. So in this way beryllium 4. But in case of beryllium it is actually 9. So sometimes, as I say, the trick may have variations, okay? So the trick may have variations, but in most of the case it holds true. 5 odd into 2 plus 1, 11. 6 even into 2, 12. Nitrogen 7, but it becomes 7 into 2, 14. So this is not a very sure trick, but still an effective trick in remembering most of them. Okay. Oxygen 8, atomic number 16. And in this way you can actually not go for this trick as well if you find it confusing, but it may help you in most other cases. Okay. So I'm not writing the rest of the elements, you just have to memorize this entire atomic number of the element and the mass number of the element in proper order. If you know these two, you can easily find the value of proton, neutron and electron, just like I showed in the previous question. Now moving forward to the next part, that how do we represent an atom? How is the representation of an atom done? It is generally done with the nuclide symbol. Okay. So how does the nuclide symbol look like? When I say nuclide symbol, we consider X as the atom. Suppose X is the atom. At the top we write the atomic number, and below it we write the at the top we write the A value, that is the mass number, and below it we write the atomic number. Okay. So the nuclide symbol is very simple. X is nothing but the atom itself, and A is the mass number, and below we write the Z. So this is how the representation is done, and more specifically this representation is termed as the nuclide symbol. So this is how the basic representation of an atom is done. So let us see some examples. For example, if we start with the basic one, hydrogen, it is the same 1H1, but if we go for the next one, helium, as per the order, helium, downwards we write the atomic number 2, mass number at the up. Then hydrogen, helium, lithium, 3, 7. Then we have got magnesium, suppose, 12, 24. And we write down sodium, 11, 23. If we go for carbon, 6 and 12. If we go for more examples, for example, nitrogen, 7 and 14. If we go for chlorine, is 17 and 35. So I hope you have understood. If you keep on practicing this, you can easily know how the nuclide symbol or the proper representation of an atom is done. Now moving forward to certain basic things, that is what is an isotope, what is an isobar, and what is an isotone. Isotone may not be in your syllabus, but it will be easy if you know it. For example, so for beginning with isotope. Isotope refers to the same atom of an element. It is the same atom of an element but with different mass number, with different A value. That is, certain isotopes, the most common isotope is chlorine, having the same mass number, having the same atomic number. Why same atomic number? Because it represents the same atom but different mass numbers. So same Z, different A. Okay. The next isotope is proton, deuterium, tritium. So there are even more examples. The basic idea is same Z value, different A value. Same Z makes it the same atom. That means the moment it lies as the same atom, it has got the same chemical properties. Because why the same chemical properties for the same atom? Because it has got the same value of Z. Due to the same value of Z, afterwards we will see what is an electronic configuration. And because of the same value of Z, the electronic configuration remains the same, and as a result, the chemical properties of all the isotopes of a particular element are the same. But the physical properties means the boiling point, melting point, and all these things, all the other physical properties will actually vary. Why so? Because the mass number is varying. So the physical properties will vary. After we go for the electronic configuration, we may touch this again. You will equally understand why is the chemical property for the isotope the same and why is the physical properties different. The moment you understand electronic configuration, it will be much more clearer. Now moving forward to isobars. Now, what is an isobar? Isobar are the atoms of different elements having the same mass number. Because they are of different elements, because they are the atoms of different elements, that means the moment we know they are the atoms of different elements, that means Z value will be different. But the speciality of isobars is they are the atoms of different elements having the same mass number. So let us take an example. The most common example, if we see argon 1840 and calcium 2040. So this is the most common example of an isobar where the mass number, the A value remains the same. Now I don't know if an isotone is there in your syllabus or not, but just a rough idea, what is an isotone? Isotone is nothing but those atoms of the electrons of two different elements having the same number of neutrons. So isotopes are the atoms of different elements having the same number of neutrons. Now, moving forward to what is atomic mass. Mass number is 8, but how to find the value of atomic mass? Now when we say atomic mass, it is generally measured in a unit which is AMU or U. AMU, that is the atomic mass unit, or U, which is the unified unit. Both refers to the same thing. So when atomic mass is very much different from what we know as mass number. For basic value of one AMU or one U, that is nothing but 1/12 of the mass of a C12 atom. Okay. So this is the 1/12 of the mass of a C12 atom, which is termed as 1 AMU, whose value is 1.675 into 10 to the power minus 27 kg. When we consider the atomic masses of other elements in AMU, it is generally said to be the relative atomic mass. When I say relative atomic mass, what do I mean by that? For example, the relative atomic mass of oxygen. In AMU, obviously it should be mentioned with the unit if atomic mass is asked. It should have the unit when atomic mass is actually asked. So atomic mass, just like the mass number, it is 16 AMU. What is the atomic mass of nitrogen? 14, but here in this case it is actually coinciding, and generally it coincides with the value of mass number sometimes. This with the specified unit AMU or U, whichever you find convenient to write. Now, next comes the basic idea of electronic configuration. I won't be doing this today. I'll be covering the electronic configuration in very much detail with many examples in the next video. But I would just try to give a basic idea of what is electronic configuration, what happens in that. So electronic configuration is basically used for determining the arrangement of the electrons in the atom of an element. How are the electrons arranged? What is the configuration of the electrons? How can we arrange them in the specific shells? So that thing that we cannot assign any electron to any shell. There should be a specialization, a specification that this is how this electron should be present in this orbit. So for that we have to know the configuration of the electrons, and there are certain rules as well which we have to keep in mind, like the octet rule, duplet rule. So all these things have to be kept in mind while doing the electronic configuration. So next video I'll be talking about the electronic configuration, seeing at least 5 to 6 examples or even more, talking about the rules and ensuring to give you homeworks as well, so that you can very well understand in details how to write the electronic configuration. You will not have any problem in that. You need not even worry about that. Just follow the class, note down, jot down the important things, and that's enough. Okay, so with this I'm ending this video. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned, and if you have not yet